Morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ernest Bodziuch, and I'm really glad to welcome you at the second Three Seas Stock Exchanges Conference. And this is part of the series of events which are under the patronage of the President of the Republic of Poland, Andrzej Duda. I would like to welcome Mr. Ćwik and our international guests, namely the presidents of the Three Seas Stock Exchanges presidents, and also other international guests. We have among us also the representatives of CE Plus Index representatives. We would like to also welcome the representatives of the European Investment Bank representatives and PZU representatives, and also we would like to welcome all the people who are online and are watching our conference. Ladies and gentlemen, we remember very well our last meeting last year in Krakow, which was opened by the President Andrzej Duda, and unfortunately he is not with us today. He has other commitment, so Minister Piotr Ćwik will read the letter from the President to the participants of the conference. Good morning, everyone. And as it has been said, the President unfortunately cannot be a part of this event because he has another commitment, and it's a great pleasure for me to read the words and the message of the President on the occasion of this event. Organizers and participants of the second conference of the Three Seas Stock Exchanges Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really glad that I can address to you as representatives of stock exchanges on behalf of the Chancellery of the President. The stock exchange is a living history of the emanation of the ambitions of the Polish people, of their aspirations, and also the proof of a great passage and the change, economic change. So the new stock exchange was created in a very specific venue, which used to be the building and headquarters of the Communist Party. Nowadays, we have a new building, a very modern one, with a modern facade, and we know what kind of effort was put into this spectacular success. The evolution of the stock exchange is very fast, and the proof of that is that the stock exchange has become the part of the 25 most developed capital markets. Its anniversary, the stock exchange celebrates as one of the leading stock exchanges in 2020 as regards the trade on this stock exchange. It's also been a leader as regards the number of video games producers, and as regards capitalization, the Polish Stock Exchange, the Warsaw Stock Exchange, is now 4 times bigger than the Greek Stock Exchange. Talking about the big success of the Polish Stock Exchange, what needs to be mentioned is the regional context and the analysis of our situation in this part of Europe allows us to understand better all the process we've been through, and the part of the share of our stock exchange was 81%, and as compared to Budapest, 51%, and the Prague Stock Exchange, it was 5%. So I'm really satisfied by the fact that the board of the stock exchange does not see its position as a privilege, but as an opportunity to develop markets in this part of the Europe. As one of the initiators of the 3Cs initiative, I would like to thank the stock exchange for its contribution in development of this format. Our stock exchange is now the leading stock exchange within this initiative. And we are now dealing with regulatory issues and remembering our talks with representatives of stock exchanges from the Czech Republic, from Slovenia last year in Krakow. I fully appreciate the initiative which is expressed by this conference, and I do hope that this will give us the opportunity to better cooperate in our region. Thank you very much for your engagement in developing the potential of the 3Cs initiative, and I do hope that we have a bright future, as well as our capital markets have a bright future, because they are part of the economic development of this region. So I do hope that all the talks during this conference will be fruitful. With all due respect, the President of the Republic of Poland, Andrzej Duda. Thank you, Minister. Thank you very much. Thank you for reading the letter. So, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, Mr. Morawiecki, Mateusz Morawiecki, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Poland, unfortunately cannot be with us, and he's got a letter, and the letter will be read by Mr. Piotr Borowski.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have the pleasure to read the letter of the PM Mateusz Morawiecki to the attendants of the present conference. Dear ladies and gentlemen, it has been 30 years since the establishment of one of the most important symbols of economic transformation and the rebirth of the capital market in our country, the Warsaw Stock Exchange. Thank you for the invitation for the conference organized on this occasion, and I would like to express my respect and assure you of my remembrance. For those living behind the Iron Curtain, the creation of the Warsaw Stock Exchange was synonymous with a free economy and a free world. 4 days after the signing of the Founding Act on 12 April 1991, the Warsaw Stock Exchange began trading. This was a historic turning point, one of the fundamental changes of the times of transformation. 30 years ago, we did the impossible. What remained in the realm of imagination became a fact. The national capital market was created. And although at first it did not stand a chance of survival, today it is highly valued outside Poland. This is reflected in the fact that after only 27 years of the operation of our stock market and the instruments listed on it, the FTSE Russell rating agency has reclassified them as the most developed economies in the world. This is also evidenced by the very high share of foreign investors in the turnover on the Polish stock market exchange at 50%. At present, the Warsaw Stock Exchange is the largest stock exchange in our region and organizes trading on one of the most dynamically growing capital markets in Europe. Today, the Polish capital market is meeting the key challenges posed by the modern world. One of them is the energy transition. It is worth recalling that Poland was the first country in the world to issue green government bonds in 2016, ahead of countries such as France or the Netherlands. Many companies investing in innovative pro-climate solutions, including clean energy, are listed on the Polish Stock Exchange. the WSE has also successfully taken on challenges of global technological transformation. After all, the Polish Stock Exchange is one of the leaders when it comes to listing gaming companies. Assessing the condition of the current domestic capital market, it is not possible to refer to the pandemic of coronavirus, where all the world was facing the consequences. Stock markets seem to be very resilient. The Warsaw Stock Exchange is a very good example. The situation relating to the pandemic, the turnover has increased and the fluidity of the market as well. The scale of this growth led Poland to the top ranks. Dear ladies and gentlemen, the role of the capital market, with a central position of the WSE, from a perspective of the Polish economy, is highly valued. On this very important anniversary, I would like to thank all of those who, during the last 3 decades, have had their input in the development of the latter. I wish you all successes that were to serve the success of the WSE. With compliments, Mateusz Morawiecki, PM of the Polish government. Thank you very much for the reading of this letter. Now time has come to hand over the floor to Marek Dietl, chairman of the WSE. It's a beautiful day. We are surrounded by art in a fantastic place. Welcome, Minister. Thank you very much for being here with us. It proves how important the 3C cooperation is important to the President's office. Dear colleagues, members of the stock exchanges of the 3C region, I'm very happy to see you here face to face. You have gone through all COVID-related difficulties to arrive to Warsaw. I would like to thank very much the members of Sasha for being here. We all know in our world that he built the capital market in our country, in our region, and has great support. I would like to welcome all the viewers or virtual attendants. Unfortunately, we were unable to move all of the people into this conference room. We can't do against COVID regulations, but you are most welcome, and we are looking forward to the next conferences to have you with us. First off, I'd like to tell you, yesterday I had an interview with Service Politico, and the journalist asked me, or told me, that it is completely unbelievable. I thought the 3C concept is just a political concept, not a very hands-on economic concept. I'm astonished, she said, because you have to bear in mind that the 3C conference is the answer to gaps or lacunes in the relationships between North and South, and thus making it possible for the latter to have a better cooperation. There's still quite a lot to prove in terms of cooperation of capital markets. We are much better in cooperating, until now it has been so, in the East-West axis, if you like. Now has come the time where the North-South axis cooperation should be amplified. We have already some successes. Turnover on 3C region was above $120 billion. Thanks to our cooperation our cooperation. That means the stock markets of the 3C regions. I would like to point out the voicing of the problems, potential features of the smaller stock markets. We have, in fact, a good branding, if I can say, thanks to our cooperation with PZU, the insurance company. And our cooperation, it has to be said, cannot be a cooperation focusing only and solely on the members of the 3C markets. And I'm very happy to have with us Armenian and Georgian stock market representatives here with us. They are in a very swift transition to development, and we are looking forward to integration with the world's in the financial markets. My observation is that in many countries of our region, including Georgia and Armenia, very often companies, entrepreneurs, they have the tendency to show a much higher development features than the capital markets. Well, it may occur that entrepreneurs come first, then investors follow. That's typical, and that's just technical, I should say. And the offer that we need to provide for these very fast-growing companies needs to be adapted to their needs, and that's our goal. It has been said in the letter of the President of the Republic of Poland that it is the 30th anniversary of our stock exchange in its current form. And it has to be said also that the very beginning, the very early days of investment market in Poland are much before these years. In the late 19th century, the first stock exchange in Poland, in Warsaw, was set up 204 years ago, yet it's not the eldest of the stock exchanges in the regions. Some have 250 years old. The first seat of the WSE was in Saski Palace, which was destroyed during the Second World War and not recreated. However, it may be rebuilt on the initiative of the President of the Republic of Poland. Maybe the next conference will be held there. Who knows? This was the second seat in between 1828 and 1877, and that was the first seat that was set up for the needs of the stock exchange. We are in the room, the trading floor, in fact. The old trading floor. I read into the looked into the broker regulations, and it has been underlined that you had to be either Christian or Jewish. So or a member of the Judaism. Right. So regardless of what the 19th century was giving us, I bear in mind we were under Russian occupation at the time. The so-called Kingdom of Poland, formerly called so, was part of the Russian Empire. 90% of our production was exported to Russia, to the empire. The Warsaw Stock Exchange was at the time the main stock exchange of the Romanov dynasty, and we had more than 6% of the world's turnover. The biggest IPO in there took place in Warsaw. That was the debut of Bank Handlowy, the trade bank, translated word to word. That was proof to Polish entrepreneurship, and as I said, for both Christians and Judaism. And Polish aristocratic families have been the leaders of investment at the time. We were acting in the sense of diversity and freedom. That's it as much as the historic line is concerned. We have a number of research or studies that should focus on business-related cases, and business itself relies on three pillars. One is regulations, so we are going to speak about regulations. We are going to speak also, hopefully, about the ways we together can make them more proportionate. And it's definitely much easier to sell the history of the economic development of our region than selling the image, if you like, of the Warsaw Stock Exchange, the biggest in the region. I emphasize, I underline that. And third pillar is technology. We are going to speak about technology quite a lot because technology plays a very important role. The success of our stock exchange is in fact and to a great extent the result of accessible, affordable technical solutions and innovations. We may want to apply or to find application to the most recent up-to-date technical solutions for the benefit of investors. Any stock exchange is always a place of a full extent of democracy. Everyone is allowed to share ideas, to buy and sell. So I'm saying this to encourage you to voice all your concerns, all your conclusions. So I wish you a very good day and a very fruitful discussion. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, President. Thank you for your intervention. The President said that it's time to discuss. So let's start with our first discussion panel entitled 30 Years of GPW's Experience for the Development of Central and Eastern European Capital Markets, and moderated by Michał Piątek, Head of Strategy, Warsaw Stock Exchange. So, Director, please join us on stage, and please invite your guests to join you on stage.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite... Chciałbym zaprosić na ten panel dyskusyjny 30 lat doświadczeń GPW na rzecz rozwoju rynków kapitałowych w Europie Środkowo-Wschodniej prezesa GPW, pana Marka Dietla. Chciałbym też
Mr. Nicolas Gagua, the board member and vice governor of the National Bank of Georgia. Our third panelist is Mr. David Nahapetian, the board member of the Central Bank of Armenia. And our fourth panelist is Mr. Alexander Savaliev, the head of Specialized Finance at the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development. So thank you very much for joining the panel discussion today. We'll have a chance to discuss the 30th year of Warsaw Stock Exchange development and the role it plays in the Central and Eastern Europe. So first, I would like to ask the question to our president, the CEO, Marek Dietl, on what are the key milestones of the last 30 years? What were the key developments to move from the basically non-functional capital market to a fully development market status exchange?
Hello?
Hello. Yeah, that works. Great. So first of all, let me start with the very beginning. I have some personal memories related to that, although I was at this time 13 years old. My grandfather was a member of first freely elected Senate, and he was actually, as a professor of economics, he was actually presented the law on capital markets in Poland, yes, in the Senate. Yeah, that's in back then. So, and at this time there was still semi-democracy in Poland, and there was a kind of hypothesis that still a communist secret police is monitoring the hotel where the members of parliament lived, so the meetings were actually arranged at my parents' house. So my father is from Łódź, so from other cities, so that's why they had meeting here. So somehow I didn't know what is stock exchange, obviously, but I was somehow puzzled what they are discussing. So this is my personal memory. And basically different advisors coming from all around the globe to Poland to help us in our reforms were rather skeptical about this idea, about creating capital markets. And there were 4 reasons why they are skeptical. First of all, Poland was out of the global financial markets because last Polish communist government in Poland defaulted on the foreign debt. So we are out of the market. Second reason why we should not have an exchange was that the economic performance was very poor in 1990, so a year before the stock exchange was created. And when the bill was discussed in the parliament, there was a contraction of GDP of 16%, so no growth. There was also inflation of 1990 it was 18% and 1991 it was 12%, but per month, not per year. So how you can price something if you have so high inflation, and stock exchange is about pricing things, so things or assets. And the 2 other reservations were that there is no private sector, everything is under communists. And also officially there was no capital. Poles kept their dollars earned working illegally in West Germany at home. So officially there was no capital. So how to create capital market without capital? But it's proved to be successful. And I think that there were 3 elements which helped a lot. One thing, what was related to the management of the stock exchange and in broad sense regulation of the capital markets, that only well-prepared companies were allowed to the capital market. So not the quantity, but quality was important. That's created a trust, so people took out money from their wardrobes at homes and changed Deutschmarks and dollars and whatever to Polish zloty and started to trade. And so retail investors was other key component. And third pillar was straight from the beginning, the regulation technologies in the stock exchange, in the venue, were fairly advanced. So straight from the beginning, it was electronic order book. In the small exhibition in our building, you are all welcome there. You can see floppy disks. Some of you might remember what was that. And it was organized this way that there were paper-based orders which were submitted to the brokerage house, and we have representative of the oldest brokerage house in Poland, which was created actually before the Warsaw Stock Exchange, where we have PKO-SA representatives. They were somewhere here. Yeah, so stand up, show the and they were typing in the orders which were on rose and blue papers. So blue, I think, was buy, rose was sell, or vice versa, doesn't matter. So the height of the pile showed what would be the market opening next day, more or less. And then it was typed in by the brokers, copied on the floppy disk, and brought to the central system of the stock exchange. So basically, as you can see, it was electronic but quite manual. So, and this remains constant. So we need a local investor base, we need very good technology and regulations around, and we need good companies coming to the exchange. And you asked about milestone, Michał. So the key milestone was, of course, when we were upgraded to first emerging market and advanced emerging, and 2018 developed market. Those are the milestones which actually summarize what we have achieved in the past. So it's like with I had a boss when I worked for the global consulting company, who, when he was giving promotions to the employees, he was saying that promotion is not the price for your past performance, but higher expectations for the future. So this means that we have higher expectations to the future when we are developed market. Thank you.
All right, so now we kind of know the path of Warsaw Stock Exchange. How about the Georgian capital market? A question to Mr. Nicholas Gagoua. If you can elaborate more on the role the capital market plays in the Georgian economy, and what's basically the status of the market there?
Thanks, Michał. Well, first of all, I want to start it. I'm really honored to be here because 30th anniversary of Warsaw Stock Exchange is something that is one of the most amazing events, I would say, on our part of the Iron Curtain. And probably this is not only figures and facts that also were presented, but some symbol of very positive development, which is important not only for you but for my country as well. So congratulations again, and all the best wishes, because I mean this success is always was already great achievement, and this was very much demonstrated in the figures, and we see that in all your speeches there were not only words but feelings coming. That's that feeling of proud, and very well deserved feeling of proud, let me say. So going to the question, going back to the question, well, of course, Georgian Stock Exchange is quite at a shallow stage of development, and Georgian economy itself during last years has demonstrated pre-COVID year has demonstrated quite strong economic growth, over 5% economic growth during several years pre-COVID. And of course, I mean, 2020 was a slowdown, but in 2021 we see some strong recovery. It will be over double-digit economic growth. But why I'm saying that, I mean, despite quite some vibrancy in Georgian economy, the development of the capital market is lagging behind, and I would say that at the moment this shallow state of the capital market is one of the impediment of future growth of the Georgian economy. Of course, we did, I mean, quite several things, like reforms in many directions. I mean, we started pension reform, which started to generate quite significant savings. We did tax reform, which makes capital market taxation system a very much capital market friendly system. So I mean, we have SOE reform, which we want to also make a booster to the market development. But despite that, I would say that we need more, and we see that there is a need for more capital market development, which can be considered as one of the biggest impediment to the next stage of economic growth in my country. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much. No, this is obvious that the capital market has a a vast role in developing the economy, not only for looking for capital, but also allocating it in the most efficient way. So I would like to move to Mr. David Nahapetyan, the board member of the Central Bank of Armenia. Obviously, we have already a year of mutual cooperation. Last year in September, we decided to agree upon a joint cooperation with the Armenian capital market, i.e. buying majority stake in AMX. So I would like to ask you, what are basically the expectations, your expectations of such cooperation, how we can move forward, and how you can also, let's say, contribute to the development of the local capital market with the help of external partners such as Warsaw Stock Exchange.
Firstly, I also want to congratulate dear colleagues on this very important date. And I have heard here from the speech of Mr. Marek that we can count the age of Warsaw Stock Exchange not the 30 years. It comes from 19th century, I think. So you have a good history, and in the speech of Prime Minister, it was said that you did something unbelievable in early 19th. This is what every post-socialistic countries faced, the transmission from the centralized governing economies to the market economy. And Poland is one of that countries that managed to pass this transformation very smoothly. And you created your capital market in early 19th, and we can call that you had a matured capital market in that time. So we was interested in knowledge that you have in this area, and it can be useful for us for developing our capital market. And as a representative of Central Bank, I can mention that we have a very important goal to diversify our financial market, financial system, because now almost 90% of financial system is banking. So we have to boost other sectors of financial system. From the other hand, this is a very nice opportunity for businesses of Armenia, Poland, to have access to each other's markets. You know that Armenia is a member of Eurasian Economic Union, and this is a very huge market for Central and European economies to reach that market. We are planning to harmonize the legislation of financial system till 2025, and so it will be a good opportunity to access market of each other's. So from one hand, it's getting the knowledge and experience. From the other hand, getting the markets. So this is mutual benefit, I think. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And building on this, I would like to ask Mr. Alexander Savaliev from EBRD. Obviously, we have a long-term relationship between Warsaw Stock Exchange and EBRD. We participated in various projects, and the most recent one was building the capital market strategy for the Armenian capital market and the Armenian Stock Exchange. So from my hand side, thank you very much for the participation of the bank in the cooperation. But I would like to ask you, what kind of role can play EBRD in helping other regional exchanges and regional markets in implementing the strategy which was mutually designed.
Oh, thank you very much, Michal, and let me also join my colleagues in congratulating your esteemed exchange with the 30-year anniversary. This is, as was mentioned, is a great achievement. Well, the short answer to your question is that EBRD, in my view, is a perfect partner for these situations, but let me give you a slightly longer answer. For us, we are obviously a bank, and as a bank, we're an investor, so financial return is important for us. But what is even more important for us than financial return is the longevity and the impact of the return that we make. So how do we achieve the longevity and impact? And there are 5 key components of our work. The first component is that the way we approach engagement and relationship with our clients. We never view our relationship with the client as a transactional relationship. We view a relationship as a partnership. And when we're starting our relationship, we are genuinely trying to understand what our client is about. What's his strategy? What is he trying to achieve? What's his ambition? And taking this understanding, we're also able then to start gradually, maybe first with the simple products, but gradually expand the range of products, financial products that we can offer to our clients. And I think one of our technical, I suppose, benefits is that we can operate throughout the whole stack of liability and equity. So we can offer a wide range of products. The second aspect is what we in EBRD call technical assistance. In practical terms, that means a fairly wide range of consultancy and advisory services that we can provide. And I have seen that this, if properly structured, these consultancy and advisory services can have truly transformational impact on our companies. The third aspect is that EBRD, although a financial investor and a minority investor in all the cases, we cannot take control stakes, but we are an active minority investor. So we always engage with the management of the companies we invest in and with the shareholders. And this constant engagement, again, our belief is that this is what eventually creates value. It also has benefits in a way that, on the first point that I mentioned, is that it allows us to understand better what financial support company needs in this particular point in time. The fourth component is related to that, what I've just mentioned, is our non-executive directors. We have a very rich roster of non-executive directors who are high caliber experts and professionals in the industry, and they conduct very significant, usually very significant work and transformation of the companies, leading things like corporate governance improvements, or maybe risk management improvements, financial management improvements, whatever the company needs. So these non-executive directors have been a really important component of the value creation that we do. So these 4 are what I would call micro level. There is 5th component, which is equally important, is a macro level engagement, something that we in EBRD call policy dialogue. So what this means is effectively active advocacy for a legal or regulatory reform, but not a theoretical one, with the specific idea of unlocking specific market potential. So let me give you an example. Some of you may be aware of the work we did together with our partners on improving covered bond legislation in Central and Eastern Europe that allowed a significant volume of new issuances. Another piece of work that we did in the wake of the financial crisis, what was called Vienna Initiative, again, you may have heard about it, where we partnered with other institutions in the region with the specific objective to try to avoid a disorderly withdrawal of large banking groups from Central and Southeastern Europe. And closer to home, or closer to where we are currently, one recent example is that we conducted work with the Ministry of Finance of Poland on the capital market development strategy, which is currently being implemented. So these are all examples of the policy dialogue that we do, and collectively these 5 components that I've described I believe, set us aside not only commercial players, but also actually some of the IFIs, because some of these are fairly unique to EBRD. And to me, these 5 companies have been really instrumental in helping a lot of our clients through that journey. I can say that I have Nicholas here, my colleague from Georgia, and for example, the story that we have with the 2 Georgian banks is one of the great success stories, and this is exactly what we have done. These are the clients with which we started relationship in the 90s, but we continued this relationship and partnership throughout a very difficult period of time for this country and for these clients. And eventually, not only with our support, of course, because they are all talented managers, but eventually they progressed and listed on the London Stock Exchange. So this is a great example of that success.
No, thank you very much for this. I think it's widely known that the EBRD support is well welcomed in different geographies, especially in Central and Eastern Europe, which is a transition region. A question to Warsaw Stock Exchange CEO on, because we said about the developing of the capital market and its role for the exchanges, but exchanges are technology companies. So if you can say on how we as Warsaw Stock Exchange, how can we cooperate with different exchanges on technology level, because this is the backbone of the capital markets.
Well, thank you very much, Michał. There will be another presentation by Witek Wiliński. Hello, Witold. From our GPW Tech, what's our 100% owned subsidiary focused on technology development. But why we engage in producing software, not only implementing third-party software. And why we think it's a good path to follow. First of all, we realize, and I think you would all agree, that available trading systems are either done by IT companies which are not focused on stock exchange based solution, and they do ad hoc a project and they do something, and usually those things are not that great, that efficient, that reliable, and so on. Or there are some software systems available which are extremely prohibitively expensive, and they are too big for most of the exchanges, including our exchange. That's for sure. That there is a long list of our UTP system we use currently, which is not necessary for us, but creates a lot of costs. Yeah? And also, if you are a small client, like you are a small client for the tech provider, then also services might be not that great, in the sense that every single update is very expensive. We are even charged for submitting proposals. So if we want to get a proposal, we have to pay to the vendor. And then we don't know if you're going to accept this proposal or not. So we want to change the approach, and our approach is we start from what is inevitable for a relatively small exchange, and then build around some modules. And in this respect, on the one hand, it's a very professional technology, which the same technology we're going to use pretty soon. But at the same time, it fits to relatively, even to a small exchange. So philosophically, we want to change the approach. So most efficient technologies, most reliable technologies, but designed from a perspective of a small exchange. The second thing is that we cannot quite often compete with scale, but we can compete with quality. And good examples, our TCA tool. So this is the tool for analysis of the explicit, implicit cost and also market impact. And we want to partner with the exchanges in a way that we offer a white label product, and the exchange is offering to brokers, investors community under their own brand. So we don't want to replace the exchange, or we would want to give smaller exchanges or bigger, whoever wants to use that, an opportunity to have another revenue stream from using the technology. And there are some other software Witek gonna talk, but I would like to draw also your attention to our GPW Stork. Stork is a favorite bird in Poland by far. Not only there is a saying that storks bring children, but the stork also comes from market abuse or market monitoring. And we believe that existing tools are not good enough, and every single exchange, even smaller one, should use most advanced software to trace the market manipulation, because otherwise it's very difficult to build a high quality market if there are some manipulation, because the whole idea of capital market is that it's transparent, and the prices we get, the price discovery process is not distorted by market manipulation. So this is in a nutshell what we strive to, and we are the first to implement the technologies with us, so hopefully there will be some others who want to follow the suit.
Yes, definitely. The technology is a tool for let's say, driving economies of scale, but the true economies of scale are driven by integration, and this is what the Western European and US markets already did. If you look at the landscape of the US markets, there are just few exchanges and they have a huge scale. If you look at the European Union, the western part of the European Union, and the integration which took part in the last 20 years, it clearly, we even did a calculation. There were 29 exchanges in 1999, and there are just 6 right now. So there is a drive to integrate the capital markets and drive economies of scale for the company, but also to drive, let's say, the revenues and limit the cost of capital for the issuers, because if you have smaller exchanges, you have more liquidity, so the potential valuations are higher, and this is a lower cost of capital for the companies in the region. So I would like to ask basically the same questions to each of the panelists, and probably we would conclude on that, on how do you see the chance for integration in the Central and Eastern Europe, the Free Seas region, and the Caucasus region. So how you see the chances of driving the integration in the region? Please, Mr. Nicolas Kakua.
Well, yes, thank you, Michal. Definitely, integration is something that started maybe many years before, because from the periods where several countries had several stock exchanges and they integrated into one, and this integration continues on an international level. Well, many countries did capital market reforms on developing infrastructure and all internal regulations, but as local companies grow, there is much bigger gravitational pull from bigger stock exchanges, because the mass of this comes mainly from liquidity, from investor base. And I think that's a natural process. Although, like, there should be some drawbacks, but because too much integration might distort some international competition. But that kind of consolidation and that kind of consolidation of international markets, this is something that brings efficiency from the side of bigger investor base, bigger liquidity, maybe more from these points, and then efficiency and cost efficiency, maybe more from this side. And I think that the name of this conference itself, I mean, he creates some hints towards that direction, yeah, so we think that future and the capital markets to be more efficient, integration is important.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Mr. David.
There is no other alternative to regional cooperation, I think, because now the main drivers for capital markets are liquidity and technologies, and small countries, small economies, I think, cannot solve the problems that now exist in financial markets. We have to keep our savings and liquidity in our market, in our financial market. And it's very hard to do because liquidity moves to the major economies. The only way to solve this problem is creating regional cooperations. There is a good example of such a cooperation within Baltic countries and Scandinavian countries, OMX example. I think we have to create something in our region with Central European countries, Caucasian countries. It's very nice to see our Georgian colleague here. I think that we are in a good and right path to create some regional cooperation and to have EBRD as a major consultant, but I think we expect to have EBRD not only as a consultant, but the investor to this project of regional cooperation. Thank you.
All right, so we have our final speaker, Mr. Alexander. Please comment on.
So all lights is on me. No, I cannot agree more with what David has said. To me, this topic of integration has to change from an aspiration to ambition. Because at the moment and until recently, it's more an aspiration. People talk about it, but I think we need to start doing something about it collectively. I think this is the right time. Just again, to give you a piece of statistics, which again I'm sure you're aware of, that just to take a simple ratio of market capitalization to GDP. So in most exchanges in our region in Southern and Southeastern Europe, Central and Southeastern Europe, this ratio is maximum a half of Euro area average and a quarter of OECD country average. So there's a huge gap. And I think what is perhaps even more concerning is that exactly what Nicholas said, is that this is not a static gap. This gap is likely to increase if we are not integrated, because the larger exchanges will continue to integrate among themselves. Our successful clients from our regions will continue seeing these exchanges as a more interesting venue for listing, because they believe that this is where they get the right exposure to the right investors and the right level of market capitalization. So I think we absolutely have to give them the alternative. They need to see listing in Central and Southern Europe as a viable alternative. And to achieve that, it needs to be some form of integration needs to take place. And I think if we are successful, it will be very hard work. And it will probably be very long and arduous work. But I think the prize is worth it. And the prize that we will get at the end of it will be the value creation for all stakeholders, for the governments, for the exchanges themselves, for the local businesses, and ultimately for the economists and for general public. So for me, it's a must rather than a hypothetical concept.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Last question, same question to our CEO.
Well, the fact of life is that our business is driven by the scale. The fact is, I would confirm that I think except of Croatia and Poland, the ratio of capitalization to GDP is relatively low. So there's a huge upside actually, because you can see it. And also what I mentioned, that the expectation in my introductory remarks, that this entrepreneurial spirit in the region is great, simply. UiPath from Romania being the most prominent example, where literally it was very difficult for the local exchange to serve this kind of company. Last year, the largest IPO, and when I talk to people and I say that we had IPO and the company raised, not company, but actually the size of the IPO was 2 billion euros, so actually there's this kind of demand. It's rather exception than the rule. It's very rarely that a company from the region can raise 2 billion euros in a 20 billion euro IPO. That's I mean, very rare situation. And indeed, if we want to serve our clients properly, being entrepreneurs, we need a form of integration. What form is the big question mark, but somehow we have to get together closer. And the second thing is, this is a quote from my discussion with a Hong Kong-based asset manager who, after listening to great presentation about 3Cs, Polish exchange, and so on, he said, well, very interesting, but can you tell me why should I bother for exchange in a country which is half of the size in terms of population of average mainland China province, which is 15,000 miles away? And this is the question we should ask ourselves, why they should bother if you are based in Hong Kong, Singapore. And after 250 years, the wealth is moving towards Asia. So it's not that we will have to compete for just to get some awareness from the Western European investors or whatever asset managers sitting in London or in Stockholm or in Paris. We have to compete for the money of someone who is 5,000 kilometers away from us. And this is simply, even for Warsaw Stock Exchange, it is a challenge. It is a challenge to explain why they should bother.
All right, thank you very much for the panel, for the questions. Maybe last open question, if the panelists want to ask each other an open question.
We should disagree with something, you know, guys. I mean, because everyone will fall asleep.
It will not be a question, but it could be a hope that the map of this, the map here might include for the third conference, Georgia and Armenia. Could be a challenge for the designers, I don't know, but we hope very much.
Sure. It's a map of 3Cs initiative, simply. This part, yeah, but for sure, we have a bigger map where you include it, so don't worry.
All right, so thank you very much for the panel. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Michał. Thank you very much.
Dziękuję panowie.
Thank you, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. According to the agenda, I'd like to invite you to have some coffee. It will the break will last 30 minutes, and please have a good time, and we'll see each other in 30 minutes.
sama muzyka filmowa niesie ze sobą taki przekaz, który jest czytelny dla każdego odbiorcy. Dla odbiorcy, który jest związany z muzyką, ale nie tylko.
Projekt jest zbudowany z rozmachem, gdyż występuje Orkiestra Symfonia Baltica, wspaniały kompozytor, aranżer i jazzowy skrzypek Krzeszimir Dębski. Także jest tutaj naprawdę śmietanka.
Od zarania dziejów to było połączone kapitał i sztuka, muzyka, już bardzo mocno nawet i wielu wybitnych uczonych, poetów, muzyków jednocześnie byli spekulantami i bardzo lubili pieniądze i bardzo lubili zarabiać i pomnażać swój majątek.
Jak dostałem zaproszenie do tej płyty, to właśnie nawet się tak zdziwiłem, ojej, jak dużo było oczywiście już tych filmów o pieniądzach, o inwestowaniu. I dla mnie to też, muszę powiedzieć, jako muzyka, który też oprócz muzyki klasycznej, ja bardzo lubię muzykę filmową. Będzie to ciekawe posłuchać tych hitów, tych najlepszych fragmentów z bardzo wielu znanych filmów.
I teraz jak to oddać na płytę audio, gdzie nie ma wizji, gdzie trzeba coś zrobić, żeby słuchacz wiedział, że aha, to jest ten moment.
Mam nadzieję, że to się udało, połączyć nam różne style i różne gatunki. Udało nam się przekazać tę różnorodność i każdy słuchacz znajdzie coś dla siebie.
Proszę bardzo.
Może Państwo sami posłuchają i się przekonają, co tam jeszcze będzie, jaka będzie niespodzianka dla Państwa.
Zanim Polska stała się niepodległa, miała już swoją giełdę. Polska giełda powstała w 1817 roku w Królestwie Polskim, jeszcze pod rosyjskim zaborem. Giełda kupiecka, tak się wówczas nazywała, została powołana na mocy dekretu namiestnika królestwa generała Józefa Zajączka. Uroczyste otwarcie giełdy nastąpiło 12 maja 1817 roku w Pałacu Saskim, a pierwsza jej sesja ruszyła w samo południe i trwała godzinę. W 1828 roku serce finansów kongresówki biło już na Placu Bankowym w Warszawie. Pierwsze akcje na giełdę w 1840 roku wprowadziło Towarzystwo Drogi Żelaznej Warszawsko-Wiedeńskiej. Początek 1873 roku. Leopold Cronenberg, ówczesny prezes Komitetu Giełdy, uzyskuje dla niej autonomię i niezależność finansową. Wybuch I wojny światowej przerywa intensywny rozwój giełdy, a w nowym budynku przy ulicy Królewskiej cichną gwary i zacięte negocjacje. W 1918 roku Polska staje się niepodległa. Giełda dzieli się wówczas na towarową i pieniężną i rusza ponownie 2 stycznia 1921 roku. Różnorodność spółek notowanych na giełdzie pieniężnej w okresie międzywojennym odzwierciedla duży optymizm przedsiębiorców, ich pomysłowość, wynalazczość i gospodarczą wyobraźnię. Na giełdzie notowane są firmy z branży spożywczej, hutniczej, transportowej, ubezpieczeniowej. Projekty papierów wartościowych należą do jednych z piękniejszych w Europie i tworzone są przez wybitnych artystów. Wybuch II wojny światowej przerywa ten pochód młodej polskiej przedsiębiorczości. Budynek giełdy przy ulicy Królewskiej 14 podczas bombardowań obraca się w ruinę, tak jak cała gospodarka II Rzeczpospolitej. W porządku świata, jaki ustanowiła pokojowa konferencja w Jałcie, nie ma już miejsca na polską wolnorynkowość i giełdę. Rodzi się socjalistyczna gospodarka planowana.
Chciałbym Państwu ogłosić, że po przeszło 50 latach przerwy Giełda Papierów Wartościowych ogłasza pierwsze notowania polskich przedsiębiorstw.
Rok 1989 to czas wolności. Giełda wznawia działalność jako symbol wolnego rynku po upadku ustroju socjalistycznego. Domem giełdy zostaje dawny Dom Partii, do tej pory centrum dowodzenia Komitetu Centralnego PZPR. O tym, czym jest giełda, chcą wiedzieć wszyscy. Media, urzędnicy, studenci, zwykli obywatele. W pierwszych latach działalności Giełdy Papierów Wartościowych na parkiecie debiutują wielkie państwowe spółki. A dzięki powstaniu rynków NewConnect i Catalyst staje się ona źródłem finansowania i szansą również dla małych firm, innowacyjnych pomysłów i samorządów. W roku 2013 giełda w Warszawie wprowadza Universal Trading Platform. To duży przełom i nowa jakość w realizacji zleceń. Dzięki tej technologii nasza giełda znalazła się w pierwszej lidze najbardziej rozwiniętych giełd na świecie. Rok 2017. Na giełdzie papierów wartościowych trwa hossa, która widoczna jest we wzroście indeksów i obrotów. Rekordowa jest też kapitalizacja krajowych spółek – ponad 660 miliardów złotych. Dziś przy ulicy Książęcej 4 polską gospodarkę rynkową kształtują następne pokolenia wizjonerów. I coraz częściej na giełdzie króluje kolor zielony.
Krakowie spotkaliśmy się na konferencji, w której uczestniczyli prezesi giełd regionu Trójmorza. Cała konferencja odbyła się pod patronatem i z udziałem prezydenta Rzeczypospolitej Polskiej Andrzeja Dudy.
Cieszę się bardzo, że jesteście Państwo tutaj i że ta współpraca się rozwija. Chcę powiedzieć, że jestem nie tylko zaszczycony, ale przede wszystkim ogromnie zadowolony z tego, że mogę patronować Państwa spotkaniu.
We are very happy about the position which was taken by Polish President Dr. Duda today, because he was very keen on development of the capital market, and I think he can serve as a role model for politicians in other countries of CEE how to make our voice more loud in the European Union.
I think that what we are doing now with this kind of conferences, which are helping us better communicate between us, which are helping us to improve the communication, the capital transfers between our countries in this region, are going to be very positive on the long run.
We are all countries from ex-communism countries which have capital market for 30 or less years. So we are quite new on this podium. We are on the same level of development of capital market. It all started from the scratch 30 or less years ago. And that's why I believe we should work together.
Dyskutowaliśmy szereg tematów, z których 3 wbijają się na pierwszy plan, czyli wspólna promocja regionu, budowanie marki Trójmorza w świecie inwestorów rynku kapitałowego, w globalnych funduszach inwestujących w akcje i obligacje, wspólne tworzenie produktów inwestycyjnych dla inwestorów lokalnych i globalnych, oraz zabieganie o to, by regulacje Unii Europejskiej były bardziej proporcjonalne i akceptowały różnorodność regionu Trójmorza.
W kontekście tej konferencji bardzo istotną kwestią jest to, żeby nasi partnerzy z giełd z Europy Środkowej i Wschodniej poznali produkty informatyczne, które w tym momencie powstają na giełdzie i które w przyszłości będą komercjalizowane w regionie.
Jako giełda wzięliśmy na siebie taką postawę liderską, jeżeli chodzi o wdrażanie strategii ESG na rynku polskim. Też oczywiście mamy też zawsze tą współpracę regionalną, więc chętnie będziemy się dzielili też naszymi doświadczeniami.
Jeżeli mamy mówić o tym, co jest aktualnie globalnym trendem w zakresie zarządzania zielonymi finansami, finansowaniem zrównoważonym, no to właśnie raportowanie ESG, w oparciu o które będą dokonywane nie tylko ocena wiarygodności spółki, ale także zwyczajnie ocena jej rentowności i tego, czy opłaca się w tą konkretną spółkę lokować kapitał.
Interesujesz się giełdą i chciałbyś zacząć inwestować? Pobierz najnowszą wersję aplikacji Giełdy Papierów Wartościowych. Aplikacja GPW to niezbędnik giełdowego inwestora, początkującego i zaawansowanego. Dzięki niej zyskasz dostęp do danych z bieżącej sesji giełdy, aktualnych notowań instrumentów finansowych, wirtualnych portfeli inwestycyjnych i personalizowanej listy instrumentów, alertów, które powiadomią Cię o zmianach na rynku, aktualnych informacji rynkowych. W zakładce Rynki łatwo sprawdzisz notowania bieżącej sesji giełdowej, najaktywniejsze instrumenty oraz wartości bieżących obrotów. Możesz też łatwo znaleźć spółki, które zanotowały wzrosty i spadki w aktualnej sesji. W zakładce notowania masz dostęp do aktualnych notowań wszystkich instrumentów finansowych dostępnych na GPW. Korzystając z funkcjonalnej wyszukiwarki lub opcji filtrowania wyników, możesz łatwo znaleźć informacje, których szukasz. W zakładce Moja giełda możesz tworzyć wirtualne portfele, dodawać spółki do ulubionych i śledzić ich notowania. Zanim utworzysz wirtualny portfel, w prosty sposób załóż konto w aplikacji. Dzięki temu będziesz miał dostęp do danych na każdym urządzeniu. W przypadku nowej instalacji dane zostaną automatycznie przywrócone. Zakładkę z ustawionymi alertami znajdziesz w górnym menu aplikacji. Nowe alerty dodasz na karcie danego instrumentu. Każda zmiana kursu oraz inne ważne informacje giełdowe trafią natychmiast na Twój telefon. W tej zakładce znajdziesz najświeższe informacje rynkowe z agencji PAP i ISB News oraz bezpośrednio ze spółek. Skorzystaj z wyszukiwarki, aby znaleźć te, które interesują Cię najbardziej. Aplikacja GPW to zawsze aktualne notowania z warszawskiej giełdy na Twoim smartfonie i tablecie. Pobierz aplikację GPW.
sama muzyka filmowa niesie ze sobą taki przekaz, który jest czytelny dla każdego odbiorcy. Dla odbiorcy, który jest związany z muzyką, ale nie tylko.
Projekt jest zbudowany z rozmachem, gdyż występuje Orkiestra Symphonia Baltica, wspaniały kompozytor, aranżer i jazzowy skrzypek Krzesimir Dębski. Także jest tutaj naprawdę śmietanka.
Od zarania dziejów to było połączone kapitał i sztuka, muzyka, już bardzo mocno nawet i wielu wybitnych uczonych, poetów, muzyków jednocześnie byli spekulantami i bardzo lubili pieniądze i bardzo lubili zarabiać i pomnażać swój majątek.
Jak dostałem zaproszenie do tej płyty, to właśnie nawet się tak zdziwiłem, ojej, jak dużo było oczywiście już tych filmów o pieniądzach, o inwestowaniu. I dla mnie to też, muszę powiedzieć, jako muzyka, który też oprócz muzyki klasycznej, ja bardzo lubię muzykę filmową. Będzie to ciekawe posłuchać tych hitów, tych najlepszych fragmentów z bardzo wielu znanych filmów.
I teraz jak to oddać na płytę audio, gdzie nie ma wizji, gdzie trzeba coś zrobić, żeby słuchacz wiedział, że aha, to jest ten moment.
Mam nadzieję, że to się udało, połączyć nam różne style i różne gatunki. Udało nam się przekazać tę różnorodność i każdy słuchacz znajdzie coś dla siebie.
Proszę bardzo.
Może Państwo sami posłuchają i się przekonają, co tam jeszcze będzie, jaka będzie niespodzianka dla Państwa.
Zanim Polska stała się niepodległa, miała już swoją giełdę. Polska giełda powstała w 1817 roku w Królestwie Polskim, jeszcze pod rosyjskim zaborem. Giełda kupiecka, tak się wówczas nazywała, została powołana na mocy dekretu namiestnika królestwa generała Józefa Zajączka. Uroczyste otwarcie giełdy nastąpiło 12 maja 1817 roku w Pałacu Saskim, a pierwsza jej sesja ruszyła w samo południe i trwała godzinę. W 1828 roku serce finansów kongresówki biło już na Placu Bankowym w Warszawie. Pierwsze akcje na giełdę w 1840 roku wprowadziło Towarzystwo Drogi Żelaznej Warszawsko-Wiedeńskiej. Początek 1873 roku. Leopold Cronenberg, ówczesny prezes Komitetu Giełdy, uzyskuje dla niej autonomię i niezależność finansową. Wybuch I wojny światowej przerywa intensywny rozwój giełdy, a w nowym budynku przy ulicy Królewskiej cichną gwary i zacięte negocjacje. W 1918 roku Polska staje się niepodległa. Giełda dzieli się wówczas na towarową i pieniężną i rusza ponownie 2 stycznia 1921 roku. Różnorodność spółek notowanych na giełdzie pieniężnej w okresie międzywojennym odzwierciedla duży optymizm przedsiębiorców, ich pomysłowość, wynalazczość i gospodarczą wyobraźnię. Na giełdzie notowane są firmy z branży spożywczej, hutniczej, transportowej, ubezpieczeniowej. Projekty papierów wartościowych należą do jednych z piękniejszych w Europie i tworzone są przez wybitnych artystów. Wybuch II wojny światowej przerywa ten pochód młodej polskiej przedsiębiorczości. Budynek giełdy przy ulicy Królewskiej 14 podczas bombardowań obraca się w ruinę, tak jak cała gospodarka II Rzeczpospolitej. W porządku świata, jaki ustanowiła pokojowa konferencja w Jałcie, nie ma już miejsca na polską wolnorynkowość i giełdę. Rodzi się socjalistyczna gospodarka planowana.
Chciałbym Państwu ogłosić, że po przeszło 50 latach przerwy Giełda Papierów Wartościowych ogłasza pierwsze notowania polskich przedsiębiorstw.
Rok 1989 to czas wolności. Giełda wznawia działalność jako symbol wolnego rynku po upadku ustroju socjalistycznego. Domem giełdy zostaje dawny Dom Partii, do tej pory centrum dowodzenia Komitetu Centralnego PZPR. O tym, czym jest giełda, chcą wiedzieć wszyscy. Media, urzędnicy, studenci, zwykli obywatele. W pierwszych latach działalności Giełdy Papierów Wartościowych na parkiecie debiutują wielkie państwowe spółki. A dzięki powstaniu rynków NewConnect i Catalyst staje się ona źródłem finansowania i szansą również dla małych firm, innowacyjnych pomysłów i samorządów. W roku 2013 giełda w Warszawie wprowadza Universal Trading Platform. To duży przełom i nowa jakość w realizacji zleceń. Dzięki tej technologii nasza giełda znalazła się w pierwszej lidze najbardziej rozwiniętych giełd na świecie. Rok 2017. Na Giełdzie Papierów Wartościowych trwa hossa, która widoczna jest we wzroście indeksów i obrotów. Rekordowa jest też kapitalizacja krajowych spółek – ponad 660 miliardów złotych. Dziś przy ulicy Książęcej 4 polską gospodarkę rynkową kształtują następne pokolenia wizjonerów. I coraz częściej na giełdzie króluje kolor zielony.
Krakowie spotkaliśmy się na konferencji, w której uczestniczyli prezesi giełd regionu Trójmorza. Cała konferencja odbyła się pod patronatem i z udziałem prezydenta Rzeczypospolitej Polskiej Andrzeja Dudy.
Cieszę się bardzo, że jesteście Państwo tutaj i że ta współpraca się rozwija. Chcę powiedzieć, że jestem nie tylko zaszczycony, ale przede wszystkim ogromnie zadowolony z tego, że mogę patronować Państwa spotkaniu.
We are very happy about the position which was taken by Polish President Dr. Duda today, because he was very keen on development of the capital market, and I think he can serve as a role model for politicians in other countries of CEE how to make our voice more loud in the European Union.
I think that what we are doing now with this kind of conferences, which are helping us better communicate between us, which are helping us to improve the communication, the capital transfers between our countries in this region, are going to be very positive on the long run.
We are all countries from ex-communism countries which have capital market for 30 or less years. So we are quite new on this podium. We are on the same level of development of capital market. It all started from the scratch 30 or less years ago. And that's why I believe we should work together.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take
Dyskutowaliśmy szereg tematów, z których 3 wbijają się na pierwszy plan, czyli wspólna promocja regionu, budowanie marki Trójmorza w świecie inwestorów rynku kapitałowego, w globalnych funduszach inwestujących w akcje i obligacje, wspólne tworzenie produktów inwestycyjnych dla inwestorów lokalnych i globalnych oraz zabieganie o to, by regulacje Unii Europejskiej były bardziej proporcjonalne i akceptowały różnorodność regionu Trójmorza.
W kontekście tej konferencji bardzo istotną kwestią jest to, żeby nasi partnerzy z giełd z Europy Środkowej i Wschodniej poznali produkty informatyczne, które w tym momencie powstają na giełdzie i które w przyszłości będą komercjalizowane w regionie.
Jako giełda wzięliśmy na siebie taką postawę liderską, jeżeli chodzi o wdrażanie strategii ESG na rynku polskim. Też oczywiście mamy zawsze tę współpracę regionalną, więc chętnie będziemy się dzielili też naszymi doświadczeniami.
Jeżeli mamy mówić o tym, co jest aktualnie globalnym trendem w zakresie zarządzania zielonymi finansami, finansowaniem zrównoważonym, no to właśnie raportowanie ESG, w oparciu o które będą dokonywane nie tylko ocena wiarygodności spółki, ale także zwyczajnie ocena jej rentowności i tego, czy opłaca się w tą konkretną spółkę lokować kapitał.
Interesujesz się giełdą i chciałbyś zacząć inwestować? Pobierz najnowszą wersję aplikacji Giełdy Papierów Wartościowych. Aplikacja GPW to niezbędnik giełdowego inwestora, początkującego i zaawansowanego. Dzięki niej zyskasz dostęp do danych z bieżącej sesji giełdy, aktualnych notowań instrumentów finansowych, wirtualnych portfeli inwestycyjnych i personalizowanej listy instrumentów, alertów, które powiadomią Cię o zmianach na rynku,
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome after the break. Now it's time to hear from Witold Wiliński, the president of the board of the GPW Tech company. So the subject of this presentation is GPW as a technology company. So Warsaw Stock Exchange as a technology company. I'll be speaking English because this is the rule of this session. Dzień dobry, witam Państwa, witam gości.
From Croatia, from Romania. Здравствуйте, дорогие друзья из Грузии и Армении. Это была шутка. Я знаю, что так не надо говорить. So welcome our guests from Georgia and Armenia too. This is a great pleasure for me to have a speech today. Previous year I was in Krakow in the first Free Seas conference, and during the pandemic period we met several times by Teams, but I think that the fact that today we have a possibility to talk, to see each other, it's relatively better than during the pandemic period. Today I will tell you about GPW Tech and about the technology in Warsaw Stock Exchange. And I would like to start by the genesis of this company and by the genesis of the idea of the creation of GPW Tech. So the first point is related to the fact that in all exchanges in the world, the major thing which is important, this is the high level of competences and of competences in the IT sector. And comparing the situation in Warsaw Stock Exchange with the situation with the American market or with the London Stock Exchange or with Deutsche Börse, in Warsaw we have decided to create a similar company in the technological field because we are very strong in the IT sector. I mean our people in the Warsaw Stock Exchange. The second purpose was related to the fact that all exchanges depends on the situation in the economy. And as you all know, we have higher income in the case of high economical growth. We have high income when we have recession, but we do not have great profit when the market is very bad. So all stock exchanges are trying to diversify their incomes, and we are doing the same. So this is one of the consequences of the diversification. The third point, this is the dynamic and competitive IT sector in Poland. I will not tell you about any statistics in this area, but from the point of view of the number of engineers in new technologies that we have in Poland, we are in the top of Europe. So this is the third point. And the next point is that all products that we are selling in GPW Tech, in the case of all these products, we have the first user experience. What does it mean? It means that when we are comparing Warsaw Stock Exchange with software houses, in the case of Warsaw Stock Exchange, in the case of all products, we are always the first user, which means that we are combining two things. The first one, this is our IT competences, but the second one, this is the know-how that was created in Warsaw Stock Exchange during the 30 years period. The know-how about the financial market, the know-how about the economy, the know-how about international finance. And this point is important from the perspective, from our perspective, but from the perspective of the end user of our products. And the last point of the genesis of GPW Tech, this is a flexible structure, because we are not a department of Warsaw Stock Exchange. We are a separate entity, yes, which means that we are not big, but we are dynamic. And I think that all these points that I mentioned are, in my opinion, very important. About products, I know that this conference, this is not a moment for the product placement, so I will try to do a kind of brief description what we are doing. The first and the most important, this is the future trading system. Warsaw Stock Exchange took the decision to create his own trading system 2 years ago, and the plan is that this system will be ready for go live between 2022 and 2023. What is important here? I think that one of the crucial things that we've received the financement from the government for the creation of this product. This is the first point. We want to develop our own technology, which is very important. And in the same time, we want to reduce our costs, because we are using different systems from different suppliers. And using our own system will be cost effective. So this is our first product. And the construction of this product is a kind of modular construction, which means that now, I mean in 2020 and 2021, we launch 3 products. The first one, as Marek Dietl said, this is the TCA tool, a tool for the analysis of the micro and microstructure of the financial market. The second one, and we've launched this product, this is market abuse or market surveillance. We've launched this product 1 month ago, and this is a product when we've combined our experience, I mean the experience of the market surveillance team or department in the Warsaw Stock Exchange, but in the same time of some employees that been working before in the supervisory institution in Poland. And we did a lot of comparison with other systems, and in my opinion, this system is user-friendly, and what we will do when we will have the business part of our meeting today, we would like to show to our guests from Bulgaria, from Slovenia, from Croatia, and from Armenia this product in the real life. And the next product that we launched this year, and it was 2 weeks ago, this is the new index engine. This new index engine and the idea of the creation is quite simple. The old one was too slow, with technical capacity that was not enough for the current situation. So we've changed the system, and it works very good. So what is important in this 3 systems that I mentioned, the TCA tool, the market surveillance, and the new index engine. These 3 modules are the future modules of the Warsaw trading system. So this is a percentage of job that we have done during the previous 24 months, and these modules are ready to go to the market. And the last product is not related to the financial market. This is the governance, risk, and compliance system. In the case of this system, we are combining 3 areas. The area related to the compliance, I mean all things related to juridical or legal aspect of medium and large firms. We are combining here the risk, and we are combining here the governance. And all these aspects are related in a kind of matrix, and this is a big specificity of the system, which means that we didn't find any similar system even in developed countries and in Poland. And from the point of view of potential clients, to show you that our clients are not only stock exchanges, but our clients are brokers, our financial supervision authorities, our medium and large-scale firms. The first column that you can see, in the case of all these products, we are the first user, which means that the product do not go to the market before entering in Warsaw Stock Exchange. This is very important, which means that in each case, we have the experience. And this is the first point. And I will go through all these products. In the case of Warsaw trading system, of course, the first client will be Warsaw Stock Exchange. Other clients, other stock exchanges, and of course brokers. We are talking now in Poland with brokerage houses about cloud solutions related with the trading system that we are creating now. This is the first product. In the case of TCA tool, stock exchanges and brokers. In the case of market abuse, what is interesting, not only stock exchanges, but this is a product that we can offer to all supervising financial authorities in all countries. And I think that this is a great value added from the point of view of stock exchange and from the point of view of the financial authority. The index engine is only related to the market of stock exchanges. Governance, risk compliance, of course, Warsaw Stock Exchanges, Warsaw Stock Exchange and other exchanges, brokers, but in the same time, and we have a huge pipeline of big Polish corporations that are quoted on the Warsaw Stock Exchange, and we are quite sure that when we will launch this product, and we will launch this product in the first quarter of 2022, we will have a lot of domestic clients in the first point. And of course, using our experience, I mean not only the experience of GPW Tech, but the experience of the whole Warsaw Stock Exchange, we are providing some consulting services in the global financial market. We are helping some other stock exchanges from different regions to create in their stock exchanges different markets. I mean, for example, the commodity market or the correspondent of the New Connect that we have in Poland. We are able to help them to create the new markets based on our experience that we had in Poland during this 30 years period. And I think that it will be the last slide. In terms of markets, Of course, we are a new company in the field of new technologies. And of course, we know that from the point of view of the financial sector and from the point of view of the software dedicated for stock exchanges, we are a latecomer, which means that we know that Deutsche Börse is active in this field, that New York Stock Exchange, that London Stock Exchange. But this is a kind of normal situation. We know, for example, that in the case of Chinese companies, they never starting by developed markets. They are going to markets that, in the first point, that are similar to the activity. So our first region, of course, this is Central and Eastern Europe, because of cultural proximity, because of historical proximity, and this is very important for us. The second region, this is the Caucasian region. I mean Armenia, Georgia, very close from cultural point of view. Of course, the distance is higher, but I think that we are building now very good relations. The Middle East and Africa, Middle East with Saudi Arabia, with Kuwait. We've signed this year a contract with Kuwait based on TCA tool. The Egyptian market, which is huge. In Cairo, they have 10 million inhabitants. And the whole African market with the fastest growing population in the world now. And of course, Latin America. 2 months ago, we've received a request concerning the Warsaw trading system from one of Southern American countries. So, as you can see, we know that the market is difficult. We know that, for example, the Russian technology related to stock exchanges is present in Kazakhstan. We know that the technology from Deutsche Börse is present in Central Europe. We know that the South Korean technology is present in Asia. But we will fight, and I hope that we will have a success in this area. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much for your speech, Witold Wiliński, CEO of GPW Tech. Thank you so much once again. Szanowni Państwo, dziękuję za to.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for this presentation. Thank you very much for the attendance and the virtual attendance. We are going to meet very soon.